Hello and welcome to Tommy Talks TV. I have one singular goal with this show, and that is to help you make smarter decisions so that you can have better relationships. I'd like to start as usual by saying a massive thank you. Thank you for all your likes and your shares and your comments on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on YouTube. I really appreciate it because you're helping us spread the message further, faster. So thank you very much indeed. And also thank you for those of you that have joined my Tommy Talks Marriage Masterclass group on Facebook. If you haven't joined yet, I'd really encourage you to join because I share things on there that I don't share anywhere else. It feels like a family there, so please take time and join. I will admit you into the group. Now today I'm going to be taking another one of your questions. It's quite a lengthy one, so I'll encourage you to just hang in there with me. It says, I'm naturally an extrovert and long to have meaningful and hearty conversations with my husband, who is an introvert. I'm well aware that he loves to be quiet most of the time, but then it puzzles me that he smiles, chats and occasionally cracks jokes with everybody else but me. It makes me withdraw into my shell, and I will confess that I refused him sex this morning because I don't feel any form of affection from him. He's outright dry. No fun, no laughter, no connection, nothing. I feel like I'm living with a stranger. Another concern for me is that I'm becoming cold as well, and unfortunately I'm doing that to my kids. I used to be a cheerful and jovial lady who loves to play, laugh and have fun, but all that is gone now. Please advise me. Now, this is a classical situation, the sort of thing that, I always share about in my videos when I, say to people that opposites tend to attract. That's just the reality of marriage. People tend to be drawn to people who are different from them for some reason. But you see, the challenge is that opposites attract, but usually when they get into marriage, unless they take time to understand their differences, opposites begin to attack. So in your situation, you are an extrovert and your husband is an introvert. An extrovert is someone that draws their strength from connection, from interaction, from talking to people, and having, intimate friendships, with people. But an introvert is someone that draws their strength from quietness, from solitude, from being on their own, from quiet reflection, So there are two different types of people, and that is not so much of a challenge unless when you get into marriage, you lean too far in one direction. So the whole idea is that the extrovert in the marriage is supposed to balance out the introvert and vice versa. So usually, if you're an extrovert, then you kind of, bring a bit more life into your introverted partner's, life and all that, make life a bit more interesting for them, and then maybe the introvert will tend to make you a bit more subdued and a bit more balanced in your extroversion. So that's the way that it's supposed to work. But the challenge is that it doesn't always work that way. So sometimes in marriage you find that the marriage swings too far in the extrovertish direction. So if it swings too far in the extrovertish direction, what that means is that everything is go, and then the introvert in the marriage begins to feel stressed, begins to feel harassed. They feel like they don't have enough time to withdraw and reflect and gather their energy again. So at a point it's like it all becomes too much for them. But on the other hand, if you swing too far in the introvertish direction, which I think is what's happening in your marriage, then you find out that the introvert might be comfortable, but the extrovert begins to feel disconnected. They feel that they're lacking intimacy. They feel like there's nothing really happening in the marriage at all. And I think that that's the challenge that you are facing. So this is something that you need to be able to find a way to make your husband aware of. I think what's probably happening is because he is so comfortable with you that when he's with you, he feels like he doesn't have to make that effort to come out of his shell. But you see, when he's with others, maybe he feels like he has to make that effort, so that other people don't feel like he's being standoffish or he's not being friendly, that sort of thing. But then as soon as he's at home where he feels like he's comfortable, then he retreats back into his shell. But what I always say to partners in a marriage is this: you've got to be prepared to step outside your comfort zone if you want to make your marriage work. If you want to make your marriage enjoyable for the other party in the marriage, then you cannot afford to stay in your comfort zone all the time. So for the extrovert, you've got to be prepared to understand that sometimes your spouse needs a bit of time to reflect, and to regather their energy again. And if you recognize that, then you give them that space and that room, and you will not take it personally when they don't want to be around you all the time, because you recognize that if they do that, then they will be better better for you when they come out of that place of solitude. But you know, on the other hand, the introvert also needs to recognize that you cannot afford to live in that comfort zone of I want to be on my own, I don't want to talk, I just want to reflect, because you're starving your extrovert partner of connection, of friendship, of intimacy, which matters so much in marriage, and particularly in your situation where you're the woman in the marriage. Because I always say to men that words mean a lot to women. So women respond to words from their husbands. It matters a lot. It sets the atmosphere of the home. In fact, there's a scripture that I love so much in the book of Ephesians, chapter 5, verses 25 to 28 from the Message translation. I wouldn't read the whole thing, but there's an aspect there that says, it says, husbands, go all out in your love for your wives, exactly as Christ did for the church. A love marked by giving and not getting. Christ's love makes the church whole. Then it says, his words evoke her beauty. In other words, his words bring out her beauty. Everything he does and says is designed to bring the best out of her. And that is the challenge for husbands. That's what God expects of husbands. Bring out the best of your wife by speaking the right words over her, by speaking the right words into her. Women connect with words. So what am I saying essentially? In your marriage, I think you need to be able to get your husband to understand how much this matters to you. And it's not a matter of, badgering him or harassing him or nagging him, because one thing I realize is this: men do not respond to nagging. Generally, human beings don't respond to nagging, but rather, if you find a quiet time when you actually share with him and help him see how much you care about him, how much you want to connect with him, and how it matters to you, to be able to talk to him and to laugh with him and to share with him and how you want to be his best friend, he might be able to, come to an understanding and actually respond to that. If he doesn't respond to that, then you probably actually need, a counselor to step in and help him see how important that is, so that he recognizes that he needs to cultivate that friendship with you. He cannot just assume that it would happen naturally. And then another thing that would also probably help is, for you to also find other outlets, because if you're really, really extroverted, then you might not be able to, it might be asking too much to expect your husband to listen to everything you have to say, because you've got lots and lots to say. So maybe, if you find other trusted friends that you can share with, talk to and all that, that may take a bit of the pressure off him. But ultimately, your husband should be your best friend. So he needs to recognize that role that he needs to take. So he needs to step up to the plate, but he needs someone to gently help him recognize that that is really, really important to you. Well, I hope this has helped you. If this has helped you, then please leave me a message on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, or YouTube, or wherever it is you're watching. And if you've got a question you would like me to answer, then head on over to tomitalks.com/ask, and I'll answer your question next time. See you next time. Bye-bye.